It is time for another installment of On the Horizon Weekly here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Teams in the league have either 3 or 4 games left to go before the Barbasol Horizon League men's and women's basketball championships. A team that always is in the upper half of this league and trying to work their way to secure another seed like that this season would be the Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons, led by head coach John Kaufman, who joins us to lead off today's show. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Exciting time of the year right now, and you're exactly right. It is going to be a wild finish to Horizon League men's side of the brackets. It's going to be wild.
In my years around the league, and my guess is you would say the same thing, I've never seen a not exactly a race, but a group that 1 through 11 is so tightly packed. What about your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, and then, some of it is the top of the league, and, we lost, a first-team all-league guy in our starting set. I mean, 3 guys to the portal,
right.
that and other teams did. And so then you also have the bottom of the league where they picked it up. And so now all of a sudden you just have 11 teams that can beat anybody on any given day. And it's wild. I mean, in 22, when we won the league, we went into that last weekend and we could finish 1st through 5th. And we end up tied for 1st with Cleveland State. Last year, same thing in the last weekend of the year, and we end up, dropping the game, and we end up in 5th place. So it's been that way, but now it's literally 11 teams.
Coming off a senior day victory, beat IU Indy 83-78, kind of had to hang on late in that one. And since it was senior day on that Sunday afternoon, how has senior day changed? Now that you got kids that'll play for 2 or 3 different teams, or really has senior day changed at all for you?
Well, first off, really proud of our guys in that win. And I'll go back. This will talk about the parity in the league is that, we had dropped a couple games going into that. And to get a win, like any win, is a big win.
Right.
And those guys put a huge challenge at us. And if you go down the league, every team in our league has lost a minimum of 3 games in a row in league play. Some of them 4 of 5, some of them 5 of 7, some of them 6. It is wild. And so it's which team manages adversity best and which team gets better the most over the course of the season. So that's critical. Now, obviously, having guys that have been in your program like a CJ Hadnot, who's kind of been homegrown, has pride in that jersey, like there is great value in that. And I think that pays a lot of value coming down the stretch of your season. Now, that doesn't mean that guys that have been with you 1 or 2 years, there's not value in that. Those guys are really, really good players. So how do you convince those guys that their clock is ticking and the pride on that front of the jersey, and how do you manage adversity? That's a challenge that all the coaches in the league are going through. I had 2 guys that had senior night. D'Angelo Elise, he's a 4th-year guy who had 2 years of JUCO before those 4 years, and we may still get him back for another year. And then Max Nelson, who was in his 4th year with us, who played a lot of basketball. Those guys are playing the best basketball of their career. And those guys obviously have been with us, gone through the ropes. Like, they just know what we're doing before I even say it. Then I have 2 other guys, that Darius Duffy, who knows the league really well, having come from Milwaukee. And then you have Mikhail Stevenson, who's a Fort Wayne guy. And so the value there is, hey, you got one guy who's been playing in the league, like he wants a league title. The other one, he's playing with literally and figuratively Fort Wayne across his chest. And so I hope that's going to pay it forward for us.
Well, let's talk about Corey Hadnot, because obviously he is in the running, if not the favorite, for being the league player of the year. The scoring champ in the league right now, averaging over 20 points a game. He's in his 3rd year with you. First, he spent some time in the Atlanta area, has some ties to Houston. How'd you get him to Fort Wayne, Indiana?
Well, I got to see him at NY2LA up in Milwaukee. It was one of those off games, and I was up there by myself, and my assistants had kind of left me off a game. I walk up there and watch a game, and sure enough, I'm watching Marcus Hall play against CJ Hadnot, and end up offering both of them the next day, visit them. Unfortunately, couldn't get Marcus to come down out of Green Bay. He loves that city. But I was able to get CJ Hadnot out of Houston. And he claims Atlanta, like this is a joke. I'm from Atlanta. And I think early on we had so many good players. He's just trying to brown-nose coach. He left Atlanta in like 8th grade. Browners. Now, I told them at the beginning of the year, hey, do you want to change it to Houston on the website? Like, you're going to start this year finally. Like, you don't have the Browners. I'm going to play you a ton. And he chuckled off of that. But listen, the reason he's gotten so good is, one, he played under really good guards. I mean, the last couple of years, we probably had arguably the best guards in the league. Last year, 2 first-team all-league guys, with Jalen Jackson and Rasheed Bello. And then, Quentin Morton-Roberts is pretty good, too. Hit 110 threes as a junior. So, like, those 3 guys, when you're playing behind those guys and guarding those guys in practice and you're kind of growing organically within the system, like that's a good way to grow up and get really good. And then this year, kind of going, he was seasoned to sort of take over the reins of that. But what's been really impressive is, like, each year he's stacked, grown with his efficiency and then stacked volume on top of that, which is our goal in recruiting. Like, hey, we're going to get you more efficient. Well, this year, what's been amazing is that second time through the league, and everybody knows who he is, and he keeps maintaining that efficiency. And this is what I hold to this is the magic juice to that, is that his mom pulls in the same direction of the coaches all the time. Like, she is our biggest supporter. And if you do that, if you have families and circles pulling in the same direction as a coaching staff, you manage adversity, you get better. Like, he put on 12 pounds of muscle this offseason. He's just become such a pro with how he operates. It's phenomenal. And that's why the best basketball. And listen, he cries out, stay where you're at, because he knows how we want to play. He sees the space on the floor before it actually happens, and it makes him look like a really, really good player, which he is. But I have other good players that, like, they're still trying to figure out where their space is, where their timing is. And, like, he knows before it happens, and it's been great to coach. And I'm so happy for him that he's had a monster junior year.
We are having this conversation as you're about to hop on a bus and go play Northern Kentucky tomorrow night. What is travel like in the Horizon League for you and your team?
Well, listen, it is a breeze for the Dons. Like, you forget about it.
I've made those road trips. I know what you're getting ready to say.
I was bred in the Summit League here in Fort Wayne. Like, I spent probably more days outside. So my in-laws live in Ohio, 30 minutes away, and then we're here in Indiana. So it's Indiana first, Ohio second probably, and then South Dakota third, because we fly into Sioux Falls all the time and spend all our time driving up and down I-28 in the blizzards. So, and then next to that was probably the O'Hare Airport. So, like, this is a breeze. Now, obviously, Green Bay, you got 6 hours. That would have been our closest trip once Oakland and IUPUI left. So, like, it's really good. Now, the part I don't like is that everybody is good in the league and they're all well coached. And so I don't like that. Like, it is hard to get road wins. We had a streak of 3 in a row this year, which, man, I'll pat our group on the back. Like, that's hard to do. But, great travel. A bunch of like universities. The Horizon League has been phenomenal for us, and great move. Just love it from that standpoint.
Final thing before we let you go, how does the perspective change when you can kind of reach out and touch the finish line? The league tournament starts 15 days from now from you. You got 4 more regular season games left to go. Just as you can see the finish line, how does that change your mindset as a coach?
Honestly, like you say, see the finish line, and like you get into this started in June,
right?
And really when you talk about it, it started in March with your re-recruitment and your new recruitment and all that. Like, there's no days off in men's basketball anymore. And I mean, shoot, a day off and I'm out seeing, 8 or 10 donors, running around some sweatshirts to them and working on the next package. So, like, there's no time for that. It literally is in the flow. I'm one day at a time. I'm looking at Northern Kentucky, and that's all I can even see. Sometimes after games, I turn to my assistant like, hey, who's the next game? As they hand me my scout. And it's just so intense right now with how do you get through the day and make that day the best day you possibly can. And so it's hard to even look past Northern Kentucky. So I wish I had a perspective of that. I will tell you this, like, the hard part right now is like, man, these guys, like, you got to make sure they're playing their best basketball and they have fresh minds, because if they're not in the moment, if they're reflecting too much, whether it's you dropped a couple games, whether you don't like your role, whether you're looking at the next place, what are you going to do? The key is to, have your feet in the ground, be in the moment, and that's what I'm obsessed with. How do we keep our guys' feet in the moment? How do I keep my feet in the moment and just enjoy the day? And the guys that are going to enjoy that day and that attack your process, those are going to be the teams that are going to have the most success coming down the stretch.
Well, good luck attacking all those things tomorrow against NKU. Thanks for the time, my friend.
All right, thanks, Greg. Appreciate you.
John pointed out his stat in terms of, to give you an idea of how different it's been kind of at the top of the league this year. Here's the one that I'll use for you. We had a night like this in January and a night like this in February where the top three teams in the league all lost on the same night. It's been that kind of a year of parity. Wright State is 2 games clear of Oakland for first. IU Indy is 3.5 games back of the 2 teams in front of them, Youngstown State and Cleveland State. So IU Indy, more than likely, they'd have to win out. Some have to lose out, and tiebreakers would get involved. IU Indy would be the number 11 seed. The 9 teams in between, seeds 2 through 10 right now, separated by 4 games. Again, there's just not that much difference, which means that truly anything is possible this year in the Horizon League. Now, last week we had all of our league activity were kind of condensed to like one night or a couple of different days. This week, it's a bit spread out. So Purdue-Fort Wayne, one of 2 games that will take place tomorrow night in the league. Cleveland State at Youngstown State, Purdue-Fort Wayne at Northern Kentucky. On Thursday night, the 2 teams that have an idea what their seed should be, IU Indy is at Wright State. That's the lone game tomorrow night. Pair of games coming up on Friday night. Milwaukee and Detroit Mercy, Green Bay and Oakland. And a reminder, we've got a national telecast coming up on Sunday when Robert Morris plays at Wright State. You can catch that on ESPNU. Tip time is at 2. 10 of the team's 11 squads will be playing, all coming up early on Sunday afternoon. On the Horizon Weekly continues here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. And off the air, this gentleman goes, I guess this is a yearly thing. Well, when you keep winning like 20 games every year and either competing for the conference regular season championship or be the first team that hands Green Bay a loss, then yes, this is absolutely a yearly thing. It is Chris Kielsmeyer, women's basketball coach at Cleveland State, that joins us now. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's great to talk to you. Great to talk about Cleveland State women's basketball.
Well, again, you had a 2-0 week. You had the player of the week. We'll get to her in a matter of moments. But obviously the game that gets your attention, you're the first team in 16 tries to hand Green Bay a loss in terms of league play this season. 83-82. How'd you get it done last Wednesday?
Well, first off, it was just a great college basketball game. I thought both teams played at an elite level. Shot making that was all over the place. Every time I thought, we hit an incredibly tough shot. Maybe we'll get a little space here in the fourth quarter or overtime. Then they would come back down the floor and hit a shot that was just as difficult. It was back and forth, and how we got it done is really we scored one more point than they did. I mean, we battled them at Green Bay earlier in the year, and we were on the losing end of a game like that, and our players remembered that. I think they learned a lot from that moment, and we just were a lot better in some situational stuff than what we were the first game, and maybe we've just really grown up and gotten to the point where we understand how to play cleaner basketball. And I think that's what I've kind of challenged them with through January and February, was to play smarter, stop giving away so many points, and make your opponent earn them. And maybe giving up 82 points, it doesn't look like we made them earn a lot, but we did. I thought we defended them pretty well. They just had some really big-time playmakers making shots, and it was a great game to be a part of. Super proud of our players for getting it done.
And then subsequently, you then backed it up, and it was kind of more of what has been standard for you guys, and that's being just ferocious on defense. You go to Robert Morris. You only score 57, but you only give up 52. Just your thoughts on backing up that big win with a road win right after it.
Well, I think that's, what people are probably a little bit more accustomed to seeing with us, is that kind of defensive effort and holding the team down. But, I know how I felt on Thursday and Friday. That Wednesday was an emotional game, and you always talk about what it does to players and coaches physically, but it's the mental side of it just as much, of being able to be back in the moment quickly, another scout, another different game plan with different things that need to be executed. We have had a tendency of being flat on the road this year. We've talked very openly about that with our players and challenged them to grow from that and not let that be your identity, that we're an elite team at home and we can't get things done on the road. So they took that challenge. We played great in the third quarter and really did a lot of things throughout the course of the game to make it hard on them to score, and ultimately found a way to get a huge win for our program. And like you said, you need to back things up. When you get big wins, if you go out and you have a letdown the next time out and lose, then it kind of pulls back the significance of what you accomplished. So if you want to really gain ground and you really want to move things forward, you've got to play clean, consistent basketball, game in, game out this time of year. And that's what we've done over the last couple weeks.
When you've got the Under Armour Player of the Week, let's talk about her too. Tell us about the week that Isabella Zingaro had for you.
Yeah, she's just a player that's learned a lot in our system. I've known her and her family for 5 years. We recruited her out of high school, and the way this is working now, sometimes you don't get them the first go around or the second go around, and it takes maybe 3 times. But she understands how we want to utilize her now, which in the fall was probably a little challenge for her because she was on the block a lot. We were trying to play through her a lot, and she hasn't had that a lot in her college career. So it was a learning process for her. I think she's in a comfort zone right now where she understands exactly how we were wanting to utilize her, what we expect from her on both ends of the floor, and she's going out and producing. But she has really stepped up her game over the last few weeks, defensively and rebounding wise, and you're seeing that in the rebounding stats. I mean, for her to have 6 straight double-doubles is almost unheard of in this league, and she's got the ability to do that. She's just learning how to get after that rebound out of our zone a little bit more aggressive than what she did earlier in the year. The results speak for themselves. She's playing incredible basketball, and incredibly proud of her growth as a player in our program.
If things had gone according to plan last year, Kobe Mabels would be playing for you this year. She gets hurt 3 games in and loses the rest of her season. What sort of comeback season as a grad student has she had for you?
Well, first off, she's a great person. She believes in our program. She believes in me. She had opportunities to leave in the spring, and she chose to come back to Cleveland State and finish this thing the way she wanted to under her terms as a Viking. And that's, that loyalty is pretty special this day and age, and something that I'm happy to talk about all the time because that's pretty unique. But she hasn't had a completely healthy year, which has made it hard on her. She came out in the fall and recovered from her significant injury in a pretty quick way and started off great. And then she got a pretty significant ankle injury in Puerto Rico, and that really set her back. So it's been an up and down roller coaster ride for her with things that she can't control. But what she has been able to control is just her attitude, her approach to the game, and being patient and trying to figure out what she's got to do to be at her best. And ultimately, once she's gotten pretty close to being healthy, she's been able to do that. And, she's really carried us offensively over the last few weeks with Izzy, and she's just capable of doing that night in and night out. It's just for her to be able to do that with the kind of defensive looks that she's seeing every night is the challenge for her. But she's having a great year, and I'm so happy for her that she's getting to experience that.
Chris, I know you set the bar pretty high because, heck, you had a 30-win season not that long ago. But with the win on Saturday, you've now reached the 20 plateau 5 consecutive years. What does that mean to you and your program?
Well, it means we've got a commitment to excellence, and we've got a lot of people that believe in each other, and we work really, really hard. Incredibly proud of our coaching staff. This spring was a challenge for us. with some unexpected things that we experienced. So this one's a little bit more special for me because, I know what we had to do to put into this in a quick turnaround. We're a little bit more of wanting to build the program how it used to be built.
Sure.
And, those days sometimes are going to be gone now, and you've got to show you can do it a different way. This coaching staff showed we could do it a different way. And then ultimately the players that we went out came in and believed in what we were doing, and they're the ones who went out and produced that. But I will say it's pretty significant what we've done. But I'll also say that it's just the standard for our program. I had to be told after the game that we got 20. I knew it, but
right.
in the moment you're not thinking about it. We didn't talk about it in the locker room. We didn't celebrate a winning season or getting 20 wins. There's so much more important things in our program that we're always focused on, that those things are great to talk about and celebrate kind of offline and in interviews like this. But it's not something that we internally talk about. Yesterday, I told him congrats on it. It lasted 5 seconds. And we moved on. We moved on to the next thing. That's just how our program operates. And, people come here knowing the expectation and sometimes learning once you get here how to operate within that expectation can be a challenge. But once you figure it out, you have a chance to reach your potential and chase elite stuff. And that's what we do year in and year out.
Your seed could be anywhere from 2 through 7, but you're playing your best basketball. You've now won 5 of your last 6. Finally, before we let you go, just kind of overall, how you feeling knowing you got 3 games left to go before you get to that conference tournament week?
Well, we're confident right now. We're playing some of the best basketball, if not the best basketball that we've played all year. But we got to go prove that again this week in this league. You're 1 game, 1 week away from swinging things better for you or worse. And, we've got to validate what we've been doing another week and then hopefully have an opportunity to do that again the following week after we've built off of this week. So, we're in a good spot, but we realize that there's a lot more out there to accomplish and gain, and the future is what we're focused on, and really playing the best basketball of the year is the focus, and trying to improve from what we've done. So we're in a good spot, but we realize we can make it better. So let's focus on that and go get it done.
Sounds good, my friend. Appreciate the time as always. Hope to see you here in Indy in a few days.
Yeah, well, that's the plan, but that's everybody's plan, so we'll see how it plays out.
Wanted to give Coach Kielsmeyer's running success at Cleveland State a bit more context for you. 3 years ago, they won 30 games and won the league. 2 years ago, they won 29 games and were knocked out in the opening round of the women's NIT. Last year, they lost in the semifinals of the league to Purdue-Fort Wayne and then lost to Green Bay in the championship game. Both of those teams made the women's NIT. Then those two teams played each other in the Elite Eight of the women's NIT, with Cleveland State winning, and then they lost in the Fab Four of the WNIT, and they won 27 games. So it is remarkable what Coach Kielsmeyer has done, making the move from Wayne State in Nebraska to Cleveland, Ohio, and now 5 consecutive 20-win seasons in women's basketball. We referenced the fact that Isabella Zingaro was the league's player of the week, brought to you by Under Armour. The freshman of the week, Karina Beastery of Northern Kentucky. She led her team to a pair of wins against Milwaukee and Green Bay, both of those on the road. And Karina scored 32 points, had 11 rebounds in terms of the victories. Now, let's talk about the schedule upcoming for women's hoops in the league. 2 games that will take place tomorrow evening: Oakland at Purdue-Fort Wayne, Milwaukee at Wright State. Then on Thursday, Youngstown State is at Northern Kentucky, Robert Morris is at Detroit Mercy, and IU Indy is at Cleveland State. Green Bay, they are off until Saturday as they're trying to rehab from the rare 2-game losing skid after winning their first 15 games in Horizon League action. This reminder, tickets are available now. HorizonLeague.com for the Barbasol Men's and Women's Basketball Championships. March does start here at the Corteva Coliseum. Couple of days of on-campus activity. 10 teams, 5 men, 5 women, will make their way to Indianapolis and begin play at the Corteva Coliseum on Sunday afternoon, March 8th, with championships taking place on Tuesday, March 10th. For more information, HorizonLeague.com always has more. And for more information, just simply stay right where you're at. We're going to talk about one of the top freshman men's basketball players in the league. And the last time that he was in Indianapolis, well, as a high school player, was playing as an Indiana All-Star. Before that, it would be winning a state championship last March. That'd be Jeffersonville's Michael Cooper. He's standing by with Andy Katz. That's when we come back. It's on the Horizon Weekly, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Welcome back. It's on the Horizon Weekly here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Before we get to our next guest or guests in this case, let me ask you one important question. Are you hungry? Cluster Truck is Indy's go-to delivery and pickup kitchen. With always free delivery and over 100 menu items, there is something to satisfy everyone's craving. Hand-stretched pizzas, pad thai, tacos, salad, wraps, burritos, and more delivered directly to your curb. Delivering to Fountain Square, downtown Indy, Carmel, Castleton, Broad Ripple, Fishers, and more. Use the hashtag, or use the code rather, HL Radio at checkout to receive $5 off your next order of $20 or more. Order now at clustertruck.com. It's time for Katz's Corner, and his guest happens to be someone that I somewhat know. It is Michael Cooper, who as a freshman has helped lead Wright State to now what is a 2-game lead atop the Horizon League standings as Clint Sargent's Raiders have 4 games left to play. Michael is a Southern Indiana guy, played at Jeffersonville, led them to the state championship. He and his teammate P.J. Douglas, P.J. is redshirting this year at Wright State, but those two made the move from Jeff to Wright State. They had a teammate in Trey Singleton, who, of course, is now playing at Northwestern. And having covered Michael as a high school player for the last couple of years, I thought he could make an impact at Wright State. That he has. I'll tell you more about his season on the back end of his chat with Andy Katz.
And joining me now, Wright State's Michael Cooper. And Michael, heralded high school career in Indiana. You choose Wright State, already having a really good freshman season. As you look back at this point, why was it the right fit for you at this point?
Definitely just the coaching staff. Like, I feel like they believed in me like crazy. So, I mean, I don't think they missed a game all summer in AAU. So it felt like the safe option. And I know that they would be real with me through my ups and downs.
And, as a freshman, you've had to, step in to a leadership role right off the bat. And as we're chatting here, through 14 games, you guys were in first place, 11-3 as we're chatting, and, really had some, great successes and had a long winning streak at one point this season and really only lost 2 games over like a month stretch. What had been, what had been in that secret sauce that had been working so well and continues to do so for this team?
I think for us, it's just our practice habits. I mean, we're a really deep team. So, like, when we go 5-on-5, it's really good competition. And it pushes everybody to be the best every day. So I feel like that really translates to the court.
It's a really balanced league in the Horizon League. But what gave you this sense of optimism when you arrived on campus, that you guys had a special group that could compete for the title?
Just those early mornings conditioning. I feel like we all had each other's backs, and we knew, like, once we get to the court and start games and stuff like that, like, none of us are selfish. Like, whoever's the hot hand, we're going to keep feeding that hot hand. So it's a real brotherhood.
As I mentioned, you come in leadership, the ball's in your hand. How much have you taken ownership and responsibility of that?
Big time for sure. I mean, it's easy to do here because I feel like everybody believes in me to do it, and like they trust me to lead the team. So it makes me more confident being in that role. So, I mean, stepping into it, it's been not as hard as probably can be for some freshmen.
All right. So how do you take what's happened to ensure that this team, can secure a 1 seed in the Horizon League and be in position to get that AQ, and I'm sure to live out your dream and play in March Madness?
Yeah, 6 regular season games left, I'm pretty sure. So we just got to take it one by one. Obviously, we got a couple home games, so got to make sure we win those. But just staying to our habits, not looking ahead of ourselves, I feel like is the main thing for our group.
You have played in tournaments. You've won championships. different level. But what has to go right for a team to go through a tournament where it's game, day after day, and the pressures of all that?
Definitely just, all right, we can't rely on our offense. We got to be defensive minded, make sure we're rebounding, control the controllables is what some people would say. So definitely can't go into it thinking we're going to shoot the lights out, because obviously tournament time, you can't rely on that every game, especially playing back to back. So definitely just got to bring our defense each game and just rely on that.
And how do you fight fatigue when it is back to back possibly?
And that's one of the things I'm happy for our team. We're 10 deep, so I don't think fatigue will be as big as a problem for most teams, because we know we can roll in 10 guys. I feel like we have like 10 starting caliber guys in our league, so it's not going to be that big of a factor like it will be for most teams.
Don't want to get ahead of myself, but last thing here, what would it mean to you as a freshman to lead your team to a Horizon League title in the NCAA tournament?
That would be big. I mean, that's most players' goals. So to do that freshman year and scratch that off the list would be very big for sure.
Michael, appreciate it. We'll be tracking how it all plays out. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me.
So Michael, on 3 occasions this year, has been named as the Horizon League Freshman of the Week on a very balanced Wright State team. He is their leading scorer at 13.5 points a game. There are 5 players from the Raiders that average between 9.5 points and 13.5 points a game. Another Indiana freshman, and Kellen Pickett from Fort Wayne's Blackhawk Christian High School, also an Indiana All-Star like Michael Cooper, averaging just less than 8 points a contest. Kellen is their second leading rebounder. Cooper shooting 35% from 3 and 78% from the line on the season. Since we are referencing players of the week, for a second consecutive week, Robert Morris has swept both the player of the week and the freshman of the week. Darius Livingston has gone back-to-back now in his freshman of the week honors, while Ryan Prather Jr., the leading returning player from last year's Horizon League champs, and Robert Morris, he earned the honors of being the player of the week. Darius, over 2 games, scored 30 points, made 8 threes, and had 6 assists, while the player of the week in Ryan Prather in 2 games put up 43 points, 16 assists, and shot 64% from the floor. Robert Morris swept Oakland and Cleveland State last week. We'll take this quick timeout. When we come back, Kelly Ford from the league front office will join us next as we wrap up this edition of On the Horizon Weekly on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Welcome back for a final time for this edition of On the Horizon Weekly on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. You have heard this gentleman on this radio program each of the last couple of years. He's been pretty busy in the league office, so we're getting him on for the first time before we get to the conference tournament in a couple of weeks. He is the Senior Associate Commissioner. He heads up basketball and analytics. He is Kelly Ford that joins us now. Good evening, my friend. How are you?
Greg, I am doing great. We're in the home stretch of the basketball season. March is just around the corner, so it's really, really exciting, and I'm glad to be here with you today.
We are in the 7th year of hashtag March starting here at the Corteva Coliseum and the Indiana State Fairgrounds. This is the first time we've had a format change. We have added an extra day. We've added an extra men's and women's teams that will make it to Indianapolis. So it's 5 teams at each side. It's 3 days of hoop. Kind of tell me why from the league office this was the right move to make.
Absolutely. And, Greg, you said March starts here. Literally, this year, the postseason basketball tournaments across the country start with Horizon League, Barbasol Horizon League basketball championships on Monday, March 2nd with our play-in games before we have first-round games on Wednesday, March 4th. And then you're right, leading into new this year, Sunday, March 8th, we have a couple of basketball games. The women will play a second-round game at 1. The men's second-round game will follow that. We're really excited about the change in format. Greg, it brings more teams to Indianapolis. What we've heard from day one, from 2020, the first year we came to Indianapolis with our championship, is our student-athletes, our coaches, our administrators, our fans, all of our stakeholders said, this experience is awesome. We need more teams to have this opportunity to experience it. So we're excited to be able to do that this year. 5 men, 5 women. We're still going to crown champions, punch tickets to the NCAA tournament on Tuesday, March 10th this year. You can get your tickets at horizonleague.com/Indy.
I know you know numbers. I know you know basketball because you and I have had plenty of conversations off and on. How do you apply the analytics to what you do on a day-to-day basis in the Horizon League overseeing basketball?
Yeah, analytics have become increasingly important just in our society, Greg, let alone, college athletics or in the Horizon League office as it relates to our basketball strategies. But we employ analytics in a variety of different ways, from crafting our league schedule to creating non-league regulation and strategies to creating financial incentives for teams that hit certain benchmarks in our league. But really, it boils down to how can we earn a better seed in the NCAA tournament for our AQs? 2 years ago, Oakland on the men's side was a 14 seed, which is, the best seed we've had on the men's side in a couple of years. And they paid that off with a win against Kentucky in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Took NC State in the next round to overtime. That NC State team went on to the Final Four. So your seed in March Madness matters greatly to your ability to win games in that event. And so we're doing everything we can to best position our AQs. And we're really excited with the progress we made, and we're looking forward to seeing how it pays off here in 2026.
The last time that I looked at the overall conference metric, kind of ranking leagues 1 through 31, I had the Horizon League men checking in at number 19. I felt good about that. How does that translate to a conference champion seed line on March 15th?
Yeah, we definitely want to continue to improve and get better. 19 is the best we've been in a handful of years here on the men's side. So that's exciting, and we want to keep this positive momentum going. But really, Greg, what it boils down to is the selection committee is looking at your team sheet. And on the team sheet, it's a snapshot of everything you've accomplished this year. And it's got your record broken down by quadrant. And so you want to have, quadrant 1, 2, and 3 wins. You want to avoid quadrant 4 losses. So that's what we're trying to do, particularly in the non-league segment of the season, is give our top teams that opportunity to compete and earn those quad 1, quad 2, quad 3 wins. We have a handful of them this year in both men's and women's basketball, and then avoid opportunities to lose quadrant 4 games. Of course, league play is what it is. We roll the balls out there, and anything can happen in our league, as we see every single week. But that's really where our emphasis is, and that's what the selection committee has told us makes a difference and moves the needle on Selection Sunday.
All right, so Wright State, it's easy to read the standings on the men's side, and frankly, it's even easier at the top to read on the women's side, and we'll get there in a matter of moments. But Wright State's got a 2-game clearance, and that is about the most separation any team has had atop our men's league all season long. In terms of net rankings and things like that, do those look any different, or is Wright State leading that element as well on the men's side?
Yeah, so like I said, you're looking for what the committee calls quality wins. And so for our top, couple teams in the net rankings, which is the primary sorting tool that the committee uses to kind of divide up the resume on the team sheet, Wright State's got 3 wins in quad 3. Oakland has 4, and Robert Morris actually has 7. They're 7-3 in quad 3. So those are kind of the wins that you're trying to hang your hat on. You mentioned Wright State at leading the league right now by 2 games. Their best wins, according to their team sheet, would all actually be in league play. They pulled the double over Oakland. Both of those are quadrant 3 wins. And then also on the road at Green Bay just a couple weeks ago, that's currently a quadrant 3 win as well. So that's what you're trying to get. And then you're trying to minimize those quad 4 losses. Both Wright State and Oakland only have 3 quad 4 losses right now. The lower that number stays, the better their chances on Selection Sunday of getting a great seed.
On the flip side, Green Bay, again, is going to win the league, but they've also now lost their last couple of games out. What, if anything, has that done to their seed line in terms of the upcoming NCAA women's tournament?
Yeah, Green Bay got off, 15-0 start in league play, wrapped up the number 1 seed at that point, and it's challenging to go through a league season or any season undefeated, and they've certainly experienced some adversity here recently, but we know they're going to bounce back. That's how Coach Karius is, and that's how these women are wired on that side. So it's going to be a fun end of the season, but their resume has taken a slight hit in the last couple of losses, as it does anytime you lose a game. But we're still hanging a hat on a win against Kansas State back in November. That's a quadrant 3 win for Green Bay, and they are still top 100 in the net, so looking very, very good. These 2 most recent losses are their first 2 losses in quadrant 4. So again, as the committee's evaluating this, they're going to get a lot of credit for that Kansas State win, and we're going to try to keep those quadrant 4 losses to a minimum to help improve Green Bay's seed path, which certainly right now is looking very strong.
Before we let you go, you literally spend probably part of all 52 weeks of the year thinking on, working on, contemplating about the men's and women's basketball championships, which, of course, are brought to us by Barbasol. I'm sure you appreciate that plug. What's the best part of that 9-day process to crown a champion for you? What's the most memorable? What's the most enjoyable as you go through those first few days of March?
Yeah, it's always fun, Greg, and it's exciting. I don't know if there's a singular moment or time. Certainly when the confetti's falling on Tuesday, March 10th, the women's game's at noon. That'll be on ESPN2 this year if you can't make it out to the Corteva Coliseum. The men's game's at 7. That'll be on ESPN. When the confetti's falling, you're punching that ticket there on the stage. There's tears because everyone's just so excited. I mean, they've reached their lifelong athletics goal of going to the NCAA tournament. That's a really special moment, but I really enjoy the entire process. As you said, it's a 52-week out of the year we're working on this thing. So, yes, it culminates in March. But it's a long process that everybody on our team spends a lot of time invested in this, and it's just really fun to go through it and to see the teams grow and evolve throughout the season. Yes, but even in the month of March, I mean, all it takes is getting hot for a game or two, and your team can exceed the expectations that the public has for you, and that's always really fun to watch.
Kelly, as always, thanks for the time and the insights. I'll see you at the Corteva Coliseum real soon.
Thanks, Greg. We're looking forward to it.
That'll do it for this week's installment of On the Horizon Weekly on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Thanks to our producer, Nathaniel Finch. Thanks to John Kaufman, Chris Kielsmeyer, Andy Katz, Michael Cooper, and Kelly Ford for being a part of the program. Let's also thank these fantastic sponsors without whom this program would not take place. Barbasol, Key Bank, Vallejo Financial, Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield, IU Indianapolis, Shield Sexton, Franciscan Health, Indiana Sports Corp, Cluster Truck, CBiz, Indianapolis Indians, IntelliBuilding Control and Solutions, and Kripe. We are off for the show next week. We have 2 more editions of the program. Tuesday, March 3rd, we'll basically be able to recap the entire regular season, the opening night of the play-in games, preview the matchups in the first round. There will be 10 games played on the men's and women's side on Wednesday, March 4th. And we'll also talk about the all-league team and players of the year. We will do all of that the next time we get together. Our final show is Monday night, March 9th, in between sessions of the Barbasol Horizon men's and women's basketball championships at the Corteva Coliseum. Men's games at 7, women's games at noon. We'll be there from 6 until 7 right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Go check out some great college basketball. It's On the Horizon Weekly, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.